We're going to welcome the folks to another Common Sense Conversation session. It's nighttime. We're in San Diego, California on 69-degree weather. I don't know. I guestimated that. What is
Actually, it's 67. You were close.
Damn.
You were close. You were right.
That thermometer, that inner thermometer.
Hey, you had it like right on the button, man. Yep. Nice and peaceful, quiet Monday evening. Southern California with a nice breeze. I don't know what direction it's coming from, but it's actually a pleasant evening, very comfortable out. How you doing this evening, Lewis?
I'm doing great. And there's not that much noise, right? The highway's pretty quiet today.
Yeah, it's...
I don't know if you folks can hear it, but we can hear the highway from here. We're pretty close to I-8.
Yeah, but still, it's pleasant. Like where we're at this evening, which we are every evening, it's actually pretty nice. Occasionally you get the motorcyclist or, the speed racer who just wants to...
The petrol burners.
Yeah, the guy that wants to go pedal to the metal and forget, we have the highest gas prices in the country.
I knew you were going.
And just, burn rubber and realize, I got to get a gas station another 200 miles because I get like all 6.5 miles to the gallon because I'm an idiot.
So, it is to no surprise what we're going to talk about in our first topic.
Yep.
Pretty intense news, huh?
Yep. The first topic of conversation for the evening is, in fact, going to be the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, soon to be the next President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Did you say assassination attempt?
Yes, it has been officially declared an assassination attempt. So a few things that I noticed. I did go to college for criminal justice. I graduated with a bachelor's degree, so I have my undergrad in criminal justice, and okay. I also achieved a Homeland Security certificate. And from everything I've looked at, now granted, initially I thought the response was pretty prompt, pretty Johnny on the spot at a first glance. Now, granted, with our background doing, time in the service and going through force protection training and all that good stuff, the more I look at it, the more I see it, I do have questions. Now, granted, I'm not trying to bash the men and women of the Secret Service because they do have a very difficult, very tough and demanding job. So
you watched the video multiple times?
I watched it several. I mean,
okay.
They only replayed it a million times as it is.
Right.
Essentially, the questions that I have, and again, I am not trying to bash the Secret Service. I'm not a Secret Service agent. I have no affiliation with law enforcement whatsoever. This is something that I'm just looking at as an outsider looking in. I find it very interesting that there were people by the building, the shed, whatever the structure was that the shooter was on, that noticed the shooter. I don't know, it was anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes prior to the shooting that were saying stuff.
Okay.
They were calling the sheriff's department, they were calling the local PD, they were actually reporting it, and those communications should have made it up to Secret Service like pronto, in my opinion. And the fact that where the sniper's position was, now granted, I'm not saying I know this 100%, but it does not take 5 to 7 minutes to get something to authorities to look into. And the fact that that structure that the shooter was on was in visual sight of the snipers from the Secret Service, I feel like they should have seen that. I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying I know anything, but from everything that's come out, I do listen to Dan Bongino on rumble.com. He's been saying a lot of things about how there were flaws and there were issues, if you will, some red flags. I've also listened to LT with And We Know, also on Rumble, and several other individuals with law enforcement backgrounds, Secret Service backgrounds, and a lot of them have said the Secret Service failed. There was just a gentleman last night I was listening to who I guess he's either former Secret Service or he's former law enforcement, but he was high up on the totem pole, and he said it was a complete and utter failure on the Secret Service's side. And the reason why he stated this is because the job of the Secret Service is not to be reactive, but proactive. And something that he claims, and he swears by it, that they failed at is you're supposed to identify the threat before it becomes a threat and either neutralize it right away or before the would-be shooting occurs. So in that aspect, I find it a little interesting. Also, the other thing that kind of scares me a little bit, my wife actually mentioned this to me last night, and I tend to agree with her because she's a smart woman and she thinks of the things I don't think of, is I guess President Trump was grazed in the head, and then I guess he also had a bullet hole go through his sport coat. So why they kept him on stage as long as they did, her question mark was, well, why wasn't there like a trap door or something where they could just drop him through or lower him down like instantly and have the armored vehicle, the SUV, on standby right there to get him out of Dodge, which I feel they probably should have had. Now, granted, I'm not part of the Secret Service. I have no affiliation to them whatsoever, but after thinking about it logically, he was on the stage for what felt like forever after the shooting.
Right.
So I have questions.
Well, and I saw that same comment in the media in multiple pages, and the general consensus, I guess, it's that the Secret Service doesn't want to move him immediately somewhere because they don't know if there's another threat. So they don't want to move him from the place he's at to a more vulnerable spot.
So the only counter argument I could have with you there, Lewis, is, and again, I understand what you're saying completely, but if you have a room under the stage,
that is a good idea.
and that's what I was alluding to is,
What?
So my wife was asking me last night, why didn't they have like a trapdoor that they could instantly lower and drop him down? That way he's in a ballistic proof room or box that they could have the SUV backed up to. Or,
You know, I feel like it's been so long since an assassination attempt on a president or former president that we become desensitized, maybe.
or a presidential candidate.
Or a presidential candidate. We become desensitized to the fact that it could happen, you know? It's a possibility, especially when President Biden was saying some things weeks before that were kind of spicy, huh?
It was the week of July 4th. He said something to the effect of, we need to put a bullseye on former President Trump or whatnot. I mean,
That is bold. That is...
all I'm going to say is this, and folks, for those faithful followers that we have, I understand that between myself and Lewis, we do say some spicier, controversial, or blunt things, but here's what I'm going to say. Everybody has touted, well, the Democrats specifically, with a select few Republicans or rhinos, because we do know that there's some that are really liberals in sheep's clothing, because that's what they do. Everybody said that President Trump incited violence on January 6th, but I will remind everybody
Not
for the
true.
Yes, exactly. I will remind all our listeners, our faithful listeners, to the facts that he said patriotically and peacefully have your voices heard. There is nothing to insinuate or incite violence in any shape, form, or fashion in that statement. We've all seen the video. It's a proven fact.
Yeah.
Biden, on the other hand, posted on Twitter or X that essentially it's time that someone puts a bullseye on Trump. I'm sorry, that's inciting a hit.
So wait a second. Biden posts on X? Like that's his thing? Like
I don't think it's him. He's senile as hell. It's probably one of his aides or something.
Doesn't matter. It's his image on X.
Yes, exactly.
So he's doing what Trump used to do?
What do you mean?
Well, Trump used to go on Twitter and, speak his
mind.
mind.
But I think Trump was actually the one that was posting on Twitter.
Right.
I don't think it's Biden. I think it's one of his minions.
But it doesn't matter. If the image Joseph Biden on X says, kill Trump,
yeah, that means
everybody's going to think it's Trump.
He's endorsing
Biden.
Yeah, and Biden's essentially endorsing it.
Right.
Condoning it, endorsing it, same thing.
What I'm saying is he's doing the same thing Trump used to do and nobody says anything. Like Biden.
If this doesn't show you, Lewis, the hypocrisy, the double standards.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
I mean, I'll just use it as an example because everybody says, "Oh, the standards are like my mooring lines, doubled and slacked." You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it's the level of hypocrisy from the Democrats, and I am trying my damnedest to be an independent and be neutral here, but I got to call the BS. There's been so many Democratic politicians, Maxine Waters, Kamala Harris, however the hell you say her name, Biden. That's just a small list right there, but there's been at least a baker's dozen worth of Democrats who have openly said, get violent, get aggressive, get in people's faces, be confrontational. You don't hear that from conservatives. You don't. Conservatives are more peaceful protests, have your voices heard, where Democrats, I'll just say it, liberals, are like, no, cause fights, get in people's faces, cause confrontation.
Riots.
Riot. These are peaceful riots when you have buildings burning behind you. Yeah, you jackasses. We're at that point, folks, in this country where we're at a tipping point. And my personal and professional opinion, again, I don't represent anybody's thoughts or opinions but myself, is that if you're a Democrat, a liberal, an independent, a conservative, a Republican, it doesn't matter what side of the spectrum you're on. Look at the facts. Look at what's being said and done. The fact of the matter is, you have two older gentlemen who are dueling banjos right now. One was president at one point in time. The other one is now the current president, and now they're both battling again for the presidency. And it's obvious that they have quite a rivalry going, if you will, and they will stop at nothing to attack one of them. And the fact of the matter is, federal judge, I believe she's a federal judge, Eileen Cannon from Florida. Is she the federal judge?
I don't know.
I don't remember if she's federal. I'm pretty sure she is, but she's in Florida. She dismissed the classified documents case against Jack Smith, and rightfully so. And Jack Smith, apparently, it's a fact that Jack Smith did some things that were illegal, so Jack Smith shouldn't even be a practicing attorney. I mean, he's a puppet. He's just doing what he's told to do, even though it's wrong by every stretch of the imagination. So it's been kicked. So that's a victory for former President Trump. And between that and Trump now surviving an assassination attempt, I mean, I'll just go on a limb and say, Lewis, the man has been prosecuted under lawfare since he left office. He's been chastised. He's been ridiculed. He's been publicly humiliated and shamed. He's lost millions and millions of dollars over witch hunts, and now he's taken a bullet for this country. And between President Trump and Biden, there's one thing that sticks out between the two of them that nobody can contest. Biden has made nothing but millions and millions of dollars as president. President Trump has done nothing but lose money. He's a true patriot. He's a true person that actually gives a damn about this country and its citizens. Note I said citizens, not illegals.
Right.
But anyways, just looking at the facts and everything, I feel that there were probably some failures. Now, granted, again, I'm not trying to critique the Secret Service. I'm not an agent or anything of that effect. But looking at everything and reconstructing it, I would hands down say there were some red flags. Now, granted, they might be outlandish. I might be wrong, but I would say that.
And the place where the shooter wasn't very covert. It was just like kind of open and pretty evident that, like you said, people was around. You could see it from the ground.
130 yards from the stage.
Yeah. I heard 148, but, we can split hairs how you want.
It was within 150 yards.
Yes. It was.
That is something that law enforcement, Secret Service should have cleared, specifically Secret Service, in my opinion. Now, granted, I'm not saying they failed. I'm just saying there are some question marks, some red flags. But the gentleman that I saw earlier today and yesterday said the same thing. The job of the Secret Service is to be proactive, not reactive.
Right.
Maybe they did their job 4.0. Maybe they didn't. All I know is that President Trump is still alive and he's still running. And what do you think of J.D. Vance being the VP pick?
Honestly, I don't know much about that. I don't know who he is. Who is he? Is he a senator?
So J.D. Vance, yes, he represents Ohio. He's a former U.S. Marine. He did 4 or 5 years as a Marine.
Nice.
Very smart, very educated, young man, 39.
Yeah, I saw that.
39, so he's not much older than us. He's just a couple of years older than us, which is awesome. So I think what President Trump is doing is ultimately taking somebody who's come from nothing. J.D. Vance came from a very poverty-stricken, rough childhood. Yep. He made something out of himself. He did his time in the U.S. Marines, which is fantastic. So he's a veteran. that's a huge win right there. The man can hold his own. He can debate like a son of a gun. He's very smart, very determined. He's done great things for his state, great things for his county and his district, and he served his country. So I personally think by picking J.D. Vance, I think President Trump set the stage for him to do 4 years, and then hopefully J.D. Vance run and possibly be the 28 candidate. He might be the 28 ticket.
Was he your pick? Did you have him at least in a top 5?
So I'll be honest, this is just me. I thought my top 3 for President Trump would have been somebody like Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii.
Okay.
She's a former Democrat, switched to independent. She's openly endorsed President Trump, defended him publicly. And I think it would have been good for him to maybe pick her as his running mate because, again, not trying to be super strategic about this, but she could swing independent voters and Democratic voters. And she's a woman who can hold her own.
I was going to say that. Are you saying that because she's a female or just because she's just so good, persuasive?
Well, she's from Hawaii. She's also a veteran. I believe Air Force or Air Guard. I'm not sure which one it is, but she's a veteran.
Okay.
And she's a former Democrat that's independent. She sees the light. She's opened her eyes to things. I think she would have been a very, very strong running mate for Trump.
Who's number 2? Who's number 2? Or was?
Well, I happen to like Tim Scott of South Carolina. I think he's phenomenal. I think he cares a lot. He's very popular in South Carolina. And disregarding the fact that he's an African American, he's just done phenomenal things for South Carolina, and they love him down there. My parents are huge fans of Tim Scott. I think he's great. I think he's wonderful, and I think he had a lot of potential. The other one that I kind of thought had a chance and maybe was a contender was Vivek Ramaswamy.
Oh, I really like them.
This is my
really
personal.
Like them. I think he has a strong presence, good debates.
Oh
too.
yes, very smart, very intelligent young man, and he's self-made.
And he has that energy. I like when they have that energy to drive a crowd. You know.
Oh no, I think Ramaswamy was a good contender, but I think if President Trump is smart, which he is smart, he's probably one of the smartest people out there realistically. Granted, he might run his mouth a little bit, might jab too much and speak a little too much, but overall,
sounds like somebody I know.
You are so not talking about me.
Not at all. But maybe he's going to use them all in different positions. Like maybe he has plans for something bigger.
And that's what I was going to say. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, and several others in the GOP that are actually loyal, faithful patriots. Maybe he'll have cabinet positions for them. I think he's going to have a powerhouse. Like, I think he's going to be able to completely clean house, maybe actually pull the plug and drain that swamp and clean it up a bit. I think Trump round 2 with J.D. Vance, yeah, I think that 2025 into 2028, I think we're going to see a lot of good things for this country, a lot of positive things for our service members, our servicemen and women, our men and women in blue, and just in general, the amazing citizens of this country. And you know what? The thing I'm going to look forward to the most is when inflation cools off and comes down, when interest rates come down, when the border's secure, when fuel prices are down, when mortgage interest rates are more affordable. How many liberals, I'll just say it, bitch and moan and say, oh my God, this is horrible. This is the worst thing in the world. Tommy, shut up. You know what? I'm sorry, Tommy, that you love your drugs and your alcohol and that's all you got going for you. You know what? I'm sorry, but at the same time, you've got to look at what a good deal is. Sorry, I may or may not be speaking about a former neighbor of my parents who, well, unfortunately, they live up the street and I think Carlsbad or something, but either way, he'll never see the light of day because he's too stupid.
Tommy?
Yeah, his name is Tommy. I'm not going to say his last name. I'm going to keep some of his identity on the DL, but a complete and utter dipshit.
So you think somebody's capable of bitch and moaning about a better economy? That's crazy.
This guy, okay, I'm just going to cover this knucklehead for a second. They lived in South Carolina, him and one of his relatives, and they complained about South Carolina, didn't like it. They moved out to California, and this dude literally complains about the fuel prices, complains about so many things, complains about illegals making the same amount of money as him, if not more. And it's like, you vote for the people that support this, so you literally are complaining about your own policies, so you're a dumbass. And yes, I'll say that openly. I don't care.
Wow.
Some people just can't see the errors of their ways.
No.
But yeah, I think this country's good, and I will say, and I don't care. I'll say it. If there was any doubt in my mind that President Trump was going to be the president-elect here in November after the attempted assassination, I believe he's firmly got it in the bag. I mean, the national polls right now are screaming that Trump's got it by probably several points, easily.
Did you ever think at any point you watch one of those videos or the replay of the video that it could be staged?
At one point in time, yes, I did, but I was like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist or anything, but anybody can Monday morning quarterback it and look at the replays and look at things that they say are red flags. So I don't know. I mean, could it have been staged? Sure. I don't know.
I mean, people died.
Yes, people did die, and you know what?
It's tragic.
The guy had a lot of red flags. He was an easy target to try to pick him off. I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but I'll just leave it open and say that maybe someday down the road we'll find out something else keen about or whatnot. Anyways.
Do you think there's a mole in the Secret Service?
No, I don't think there's a mole. I think that's...
Not at all?
I think that's a little far-fetched.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. Say, oh my God, the Secret Service needs to be plugged. We might as well delete them like we do all the other alphabet agencies.
Defund the secrets.
Oh my God, you would do that, wouldn't you? Yeah, you would. So, I was thinking earlier, before we started to do this recording tonight, of a fun topic we could talk about. Now, granted, it might not apply to a lot of people, but I was thinking of a more fun topic. What do you think it is, Lewis?
I have no idea.
How about RV living?
Super.
So,
I'm familiar.
Touche, my friend. So, for those of you that don't know, Lewis and I may or may not live in an RV and or a camper, a pull behind, and it's actually a very interesting lifestyle, having a pseudo minimalist lifestyle, coming across the country in a very short amount of time, or in Lewis's case, a longer period of time, actually being able to enjoy it. I will say that it is really nice being able to wake up on a Saturday morning or Sunday morning and go out and cut the front lawn, cut the back lawn, weed eat, break a sweat, get your little workout on, and then have that nice cold, refreshing glass of ice water, sweet tea, and feel very accomplished. But at the same time, living in an RV or living in a trailer, with a fire pit right out on the pad, under the awning, it's kind of cool. It's a different lifestyle. Now, granted, you don't have the luxury of just, having the regular plumbing and sewage. It's pumping sands.
Yeah. It is. You have certain evolutions you have to conduct every now and then by yourself.
Oh my goodness. Yep. So when the black tank gets full, or the sanitary tank, or it gets 3/4, you gotta go outside, pull the lever out, and drain the tank and flush it. The potable water system, make sure you have that charcoal filter hooked up so you get the more refreshing taste of water.
Right.
Getting the watchdog for the electric to make sure you're not overcharged and you can actually monitor your power usage.
Of course.
What else? What other lessons learned do you have from RV living, Lewis?
Pay attention to your awning and the winds.
Yes, that's a big that's a big one. Oh my goodness gracious.
Also, to angle the awning, because if it rains, we're blessed here. It doesn't rain that much in San Diego.
It rained a lot at the beginning of the year.
Really?
We had a monsoon.
I wasn't here.
Oh yeah, I forgot you were playing underwater somewhere, pretending you were a real sailor.
So, but if it rains too much and it collects too much water, you don't want that. It's just gonna break it. So you can angle it a little so it drains. Lesson learned.
So a few lessons my wife and I learned, and again, this is one of those things. It's a lifestyle. Would you agree? Living in an RV,
it's definitely a lifestyle,
and it's fun.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody, but it's kind of fun. I kind of enjoy it.
It is, and I feel like it gets you closer to your partner because you're in tighter quarters.
Very tighter quarters.
Yeah,
it's like a 300 square foot apartment, if not less.
And then if you have dogs, then that adds to the to the family, and you can't do certain things that you would do in a regular home, but it is a rewarding experience. It is very interesting, and what I like the most about it I'd say what I like the most first is the amount of people you meet in these places. Like you go to
That has been hands down
yeah.
one of the best parts about this. Now, granted, I got blessed, or correction, my wife and I were blessed. You know, we knew you from the East Coast, you and your wife, great people, and one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't spend more time with you and your wife. You know, my wife and I
back in the Gunshine State.
Yep, back in the Gunshine State, the free state of Florida, all day.
Right.
But you know, it's nice having a friend out here. I don't want to call you a coworker or a shipmate, but a friend out here that, you know, I've actually spent more time with you out here than I did in, you know, the Sunshine State. But you meet so many people from all age ranges. My wife and I have met people in our age bracket in their 20s, 30s, 40s, even folks my parents' age, and you learn something from everybody. And it's amazing. You know, you have a few cocktails by the fire pit, and you just talk, and you play cornhole. You play, I don't know if you've played horseshoes out here, but we played cornhole. We've gone up to the pool, the hot tub area, gone up
the
and
billiards, the pool.
Billiards. It's been wonderful. Like, I don't know how many people I've met here, but I've met dozens of people here. I'm like, wow, it's been wonderful, and it's sad
from all walks of life, different RVs, older, newer. I've met crazy people. Like a couple months back, we had a guy here that stopped ridiculously huge RV, multiple vehicles. He stopped for a few nights, and he was actually here for like a bike show or whatever, or some motocross
no
event.
Kidding.
And his job was to modify not trucks. Basically, let me put it this way. He had a Hummer. Were you here for that? He had an H1, like the Hummer, the Humvee.
The Hummer?
Like the Humvee from the military.
Humvee. Oh, no
and
kidding.
it was outfitted, or he built it to where it was a living space. Like it was a miniature RV. It had like a bunk bed.
I'm thinking of this is going to sound juvenile. I was thinking of the zombie apocalypse machine that my wife and I saw months ago. That thing was amazing. But I think it was a Mercedes. I don't think it was a Humvee.
No, not that.
No.
But this guy did that for a living. And I talked to him and one of his employees because they were all traveling as a team. They weren't a family. It was him and his 2 employees or something. And it was interesting. Like the guy was in the military. He was in the army. Like one of the employees was in the army. Like
okay.
It was so interesting. Like,
well, I will say that yes, I completely agree with you. Meeting people's been amazing. The transients that come in for a weekend or a week or 2 weeks that you can socialize with and get to know and learn something from, and then the extended stays. You know, the 3 to 6 month stays or the more longer term Department of Defense active people and such. But just to give our listeners out there some guidance on this. So there's some things that, you know, Lewis and his wife and my wife and I have learned doing this. So if you're going to do any sort of short stay or prolonged stay in an RV or a trailer, fifth wheel, what have you, make sure that you have your, I guess they call them stinky slinkies. They're the, for lack of better terms, the shit hoses that connect to your trailer and to your sewage. I would highly encourage listeners to grab this. They're called sidewinders or trolleys. They essentially elevate the.
So they stay like in their own rail, like the.
Yes, they angle the.
It actually looks like a slinky. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They look. Yeah, the trolley or sidewinder essentially elevates the shit hose, for lack of better terms, so that it angles it so that you have the angle on it.
Yeah, proper flow.
Proper flow, exactly. Yeah. Camco is a great Camping World Walmart product. I've seen the Camco products both at Camping World, RV stores, Walmarts, even Targets occasionally. Not very often, but I do see them there. The other thing, wheel chocks for the trailers to prevent it from inadvertently rolling.
Yep.
Also jacks for the front end and back end of a trailer so you can level it. Also, Camco does sell, they're essentially levelers that I believe it has tape or something on the back of it so you can actually put it up on the wall in your RV or your trailer or whatnot so you can level it out. That way you can actually see if your left to right's level and your front to back is leveled out. There's also some racks you can get for like your living spaces, your your restroom areas if you have a restroom in your trailer or your RV. What other lessons learned do you have? I mean, there's
Another thing is, and I don't know if you need them for your RV because I don't know your exact setup, but for the like water hose for potable water and other, buy the L-shaped couplers, because if you put the hose straight up, it ends up like messing up like those.
Oh yeah. You're talking about the 90-degree bend.
Yeah,
the
90 degree.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So
because that's a lesson that that I learned the hard way, because they kept leaking, and I'm like, what is going on? And it's
that's because it was pinching it.
And it gives up after time because it's in an awkward position.
So for the folks that are just tuning in or don't really know what we're talking about for that matter. So with most RVs, you have a potable water connection on the outside of the RV, the trailer, the fifth wheel, and you also have a flushing line for your black tank or your, I'll just say your shit tank.
Yep.
So for that tank, we highly encourage you to get the 90-degree elbows, the L-shaped elbows that connect. That way your hoses are not pinched and it's not putting stress on the hose to violate the integrity of the hose. They're cheap. I mean,
inexpensive.
Yeah, just a few bucks at Walmart. I would highly encourage you to go to Walmart. Camco is a very good brand. We use Camco. I believe you do as well, Lewis.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a pretty common brand in those.
The other thing that I highly encourage people to do if you're going to do some RV, trailer, fifth wheel traveling, is pick up 2 or 3 charcoal Camco filters for your water. It will help purify your water. It'll get a lot of the crap out of it, for lack of better terms, and it'll make your water more tasteful, if you will.
Yeah.
Trying to think of what else there is. There's also levelers.
Smell bombs for the toilet.
Oh, yep. The smell bombs for the toilet.
And something that works really well that I didn't know. Somebody told my wife about it, and we've been doing it ever since. We've been using this cheap, what's it called? Fabric softener, like for the clothes.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's fabric softener. It's called Suavitel. It's really cheap.
Suavitel.
Yeah, so it's really cheap fabric softener, like that you put on your clothes to wash your clothes to make them like softer. Not everybody uses that on their clothes, but we've been using it for the toilet. And since it's such a concentrated, like fake smell, it overpowers the shit smell. So it works really well, and since it's a liquid, it coats really well. Whereas the bombs, it's just a powder.
Gotcha. No.
It's kind of.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
So the other thing that my wife and I got into, and don't lose your train of thought. So my wife and I did not have a washer dryer in the trailer. We have the setup and the space for it, but we were like, you know what, these are really expensive. You know, we can get a 2-for-1, a washer dryer all in one, or we can get it stacked. So my wife was looking on Amazon, and there's actually these portable washer dryers.
Yeah, I didn't even know they existed.
I mean, my wife showed you and you and your wife what we have.
Yeah.
There's like a 20-pound, a 28-pound, and like a 30-pound washer dryer, and they are very impressive. I mean, they're light as a feather. I mean,
they work, yeah.
They work great. They don't take up much space at all. So when we pull the bumps in on the trailer, we have 3 bumps on our trailer. Easy to store inside the trailer. Very light, very mobile. My wife can pick it up and take it in and out of the trailer. I did today for my uniforms. But they work phenomenally, and you control how much water you use, the ratio of water to detergent. So it's like you got to go to the laundromat, and you actually have to pay an arm and a leg to wash your clothes. And the dryer, the thing that I like about it is there's no heat to it. It just spins. So you got to hold it down for a couple seconds until it stabilizes and balances. But once it's balanced, I think the total spin cycle is maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and your clothing is 98% dry. You might have to hang it up outside or just hang it on a hanger in your trailer or RV for it to fully air dry out. But I'm very impressed with it. And it was an Amazon purchase, which was phenomenal. I was very, very impressed with it. Another ticket item that my wife and I found on Amazon, we actually found it cheaper on Amazon, but we ended up buying it at Walmart, was a 28-pound per every 24 hours ice cube maker.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, I think we spent $110, $112 on this thing. And with how much bags of ice are out here, they're like $7, $8 a bag. This thing has more than paid for itself time and time and time again. The thing works like a champ. It has I think it has replaceable filters or whatnot, but this thing produces 28 pounds of ice a day, and it has never failed. It's been absolutely phenomenal, absolutely wonderful.
I just discovered our fridge made ice. I didn't know that.
How the hell did you not?
I did not know that because I didn't need ice at all. I just either froze what I needed or put it in the fridge. I didn't know it made ice. The other day, I was going to make myself a cocktail, and it happened to be a Cuba Libre. And
you would say something sophisticated and complicated like that, wouldn't you?
No. And then I didn't think we had ice, but I had cold Cokes, so I was just going to mix rum and Coke.
Classic.
And my wife's like, oh, we got ice. I'm like, oh, that thing makes ice? Because it's a smaller fridge. I didn't even know it made. Yes, it does. And I was like, okay, cool. Then I just.
So the wedding gift that your wife got us, which was phenomenal, was the plastic containers with the seals. We have one of the bigger containers. What we'll do is we'll fill the container with ice, put it in the freezer. That way it stays good.
Yeah.
And then we just take from the container in the freezer for our drinks or whatnot, or for our drinks and such. And then whatever ice we make in the ice maker, we just replenish it. I mean, it's phenomenal. But if any of our listeners want to know anything about camping, long-term, short-term, or traveling, please leave us a comment or ask us questions, and we'll try our best to answer. Obviously, we didn't cover everything with that, but there's a lot of lessons learned that we've had. You think they know we're in the service with our lessons learned and the way we speak. I mean, it's kind of...
It might help a lot of folks that are...
But I will say that from a reasonable perspective here, depending on what your housing allowance is, sometimes it's more worth it to get a trailer. And even if you're not in the service,
out here it's totally worth it.
Oh, 100%. It's amazing. I love it.
But it's because, the weather permits, and, there's other factors. Like, I don't know how you would do this in somewhere where it gets really cold.
So for more northern states, I don't know if this is really sustainable. Now, granted, if your RV...
I think the RV parks close.
That's the caveat, is most RV parks, resorts, KOAs, etc. I think most of them in the Northeast or the Pac Northwest area, I think they're more seasonal. Now, granted, the trailer that we have, it's winterized.
Yeah.
And when we got here, the temperatures got cold. When we first got here, it was chill. We were wearing pants, hoodies, jackets, and such. But we were fine in the RV. I mean, or the trailer, we were fine.
Yeah, I was fine too. But I'm saying like cold, not just like.
No, I get it, and I will say that this might sound a little far-fetched to our listeners, but if you are traveling, you have a trailer, you have a fifth wheel or RV, I'll tell you right now, I have the utmost respect for truck stops now. We stopped at several truck stops along the way, grabbed a couple hours worth of a nap or whatnot, stretched it out, took the pups out for a walk, let them do their business and such. I love Buc-ee's.
I was just going to say that.
Pilots, Flying J, Buc-ee's all the way.
All the way.
But, ladies and gentlemen.
Cheaper gas, tons of fuel pumps. Like, you don't.
Trailer friendly.
Friendly. And, if you might want to buy, I don't know, a lawn chair or a couch or a kayak or some silver, maybe.
I'm just
Buc-ee's
telling
is
you,
your place.
I'm telling you, folks, if you plot out your trip, especially if you're going cross country, East Coast to West Coast or vice versa, stop at Buc-ee's, stop at Pilot or Flying J, and truck stops. Just it doesn't have to be a fuel station or anything. Just stop at a truck stop, turn your heater on or whatnot if it's getting really chilly or whatnot. New Mexico was freezing. Holy crap, we were freezing in New Mexico. But just turn the heater on, get in your bed, and chill out for a little bit. Lock the truck up where you can run your truck.
Hug the wife.
Hug the wife, absolutely.
Get warm. Hug the pet. Do what you need to do.
But absolutely, if any of our listeners or followers have any questions or things they'd like us to elaborate on or go into more detail on, please leave comments. We'll do our absolute best to, answer them or expound upon them or whatnot. What else you got for the evening, Lewis? Or do you think we're getting close to wrapping it up for the night?
We're getting close to that point.
I will say, and this is something that it's been on my mind a lot lately, and I'm just going to come out and say it. So if I offend somebody, I don't care. I'll just say it. I don't care. If you don't respect or even understand the Constitution of the United States of America and you're a United States citizen, shame on you. All right? Our founding fathers put a document together that was going to benefit the citizens of this country. They give us the right to freedom of speech, freedom of press, assembly, religion, the right to bear arms, Bill of Rights, you name it. If you don't like the Constitution of the United States of America, tough luck. Go to another country. Go to Russia. Go to Iraq. Go to Iran. Go to Ukraine. Go somewhere else. If you are so miserable in this country, leave.
Yeah.
I guarantee you. And
Well, the craziest part is that people that say that stuff, that the USA sucks or I would be better somewhere else, they wouldn't survive 2 minutes in a place like Venezuela, for example.
They wouldn't.
They would get killed or mugged, or they would not have a good time.
I will tell you right now, I try not to be political, but I swear it's a curse, especially with our line of work. Just thinking about it, we have so many rights and privileges in this country.
Absolutely.
If you don't appreciate,
We are blessed.
We are truly blessed.
Yeah.
If you don't respect that or appreciate that, get the hell out. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. You have men and women day in and day out that suit up in fatigues, that are willing to put it all on the line for freedom and democracy.
Yeah.
That being our active duty men and women. You have men and women that suit up every day to enforce the laws and keep law and order with our, sheriff's department, police departments, highway patrol, rangers, you name it. If you don't have the utmost respect for people that put on these uniforms and fatigues, shame on you. Absolute shame on you.
I have an example, and it might not be completely relatable to what you're talking about, the Constitution.
Okay. Fire away. What
But
do you
it's
got?
kind of, think it's kind of, it's good to mention. So you're talking about people don't respect the Constitution, or they seem to forget what it stands for or what's written on it, right?
Right.
And that's a document that got written when? Like hundreds of years ago, right?
Yes.
You would think that if it was a more recent document, people would respect it, right? Like if it was
Correct.
written like 3 years ago, everybody would remember it or whatever.
Sure.
Well, I can tell you that I went through a divorce, and when I went through a divorce, there was a divorce decree, and the divorce decree it's a compilation. It's got like 4 documents. It's got like a parenting plan. Basically, it dictates everything, how things are going to be done from now on due to this divorce, right? The divorce decree.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that the courts completely disregard the divorce decree. And it's the written document that dictates how things shall be conducted.
Here's
And they don't respect it.
Here's all I'm going to say. I know we got to wrap it up here in a moment or two because we're probably getting close to our bell, but if there's anybody that wants to look at a shining example, and we'll talk more about it in a later episode, but if you want to look at an example of somebody to look up to, a mentor, a figurehead, to actually say, hey, an idol, look at Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Look at Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. Look at Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. Phenomenal individuals. Clarence Thomas is hands down one of the brightest, most intelligent, phenomenal citizens we have to offer. He's brilliant. His wife is amazing, and he's climbed his way to the top. I mean, the man is a legend, in my opinion. Alito, phenomenal Supreme Court Justice. Oh, there's the helicopter.
Oh, shit. They're out to get you once again.
What'd I do this time?
I don't know.
They're after you, Lewis.
Come get me.
But you have some phenomenal judges on that bench. Between Thomas, Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh's even pretty good in my opinion. Amy Coney Barrett, Not bad. I will say I don't always agree with the conservative justices, but I will say 9 times out of 10, I think they get it right. And that's phenomenal that they go by the book, by the Constitution. And when I don't agree with them, the mentality I have is, you know what? They're very smart people. They're thinking of their
They see something I don't see.
yeah.
Kinda like that.
Their opinions are independent. So if they see something and they vote 5-4, 6-3, or 7-2, it's because they've done their independent analysis and they said, hey, this is what the Constitution says. This is constitutional law. This is it. And I have to respect that.
Yeah.
Anyways, anything else you want to say, Lewis, before we wrap it up?
Nope. Rubber duck.
Rubber duck.
Wrap it up.
For real? Oh, my goodness. Anyways, folks, as always, I like to close out our podcast by saying 2 things. God bless America. God bless our men and women of the armed forces.
Amen.
And God bless our men and women in blue. Have a good evening. Till next time.